Today, CAREY CRAVES Cinema and I are going to be sharing our thoughts on the final ending to Bodies, 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 as well as why the film needed to end that way, and I'm going to be sharing why I think the film pushing through multiple rewrites was ultimately a great decision. Welcome everybody, I'm Carter Scotland Allen, but let's get into Bodies, 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 the latest film from A24. And obviously going into details about the film, we have full spoilers ahead. This film has a total of 5 deaths, starting with David, who gets a sword slash to the throat. Person responsible was himself. Next up, we have Greg, who is killed in front of everybody. He is literally howling like a wolf, and he is killed by B with a weight to the head. She hits him twice, and it is one of the more brutal kills in the film. Next up to be killed, we have Emma, who falls down the stairs after being way too intoxicated. Next up, we have Alice, who is easily the most entertaining character in the film in my opinion. She is shot in the foot as well as in the neck, both relatively by accident. Jordan is technically the murderer of Alice. And lastly, Jordan herself is killed by being thrown over the second-story balcony and onto a bunch of broken glass. Then we have Sophie and B, our two survivors, and then one final joke with Max entering and has one line. I can't even remember it, but I will be going to see it again. I really did enjoy this film. Now moving on to that final ending and what actually happened. It is revealed that there is no killer among the group. David was jealous of Greg's basically alphaness coming across when he used the sword to open the champagne bottle earlier on in the film. This leads to basically David trying to prove himself, but not necessarily to Greg or any of the other people in the room. He tries to prove himself to people online, people on TikTok, by posting a video of him flaring the sword around and trying to open the champagne bottle, which he unfortunately does towards his neck, and he chops his neck real good, which was one of the most funny bits of the film. Again, we do have 5 deaths in this film. We have B is responsible for 2 of them, and Jordan is responsible for 1 of them. One of B's kills is actually Jordan, Jordan's kill is Alice, and then B's other kill is Greg. David and Emma are both the people that accidentally killed themselves. This film was originally going to be more of a typical slasher where there actually is a killer. The reason why I think the film needed to end the way that it did is because if you did actually have a killer, it would almost subtract from everything that you're trying to say about Generation Z. The film mocks Generation Z constantly throughout without making Generation Z feel like shit. I enjoyed every single second of this film, and I'm Generation Z. The film's ending actually emphasizes what they're trying to say about Gen Z in a way that is very easily explainable. I think had you left this film completely the same and you actually did have a killer, this film would not be very memorable or enjoyable. Also, the kills would have had to be much more entertaining for me to enjoy this film. The reason why these kills are acceptable is because they're all very plausible to the reason why everything happens. Now, as for why the twist is actually a great decision, the film could have had Jordan or Sophie, I felt like, easily be the killers, and it would have been fine. It would have been 1, very expected, and 2, it would have not fit the way that they were trying to portray Generation Z. I've heard people complain that this film was bad because it didn't deliver a slasher. I was expecting a slasher, and it was delivered basically without being a slasher at all. I just personally can't see where people would get angry with something subverting their expectations in a way that doesn't taint the story or the characters. This film did something I totally wasn't ready for, and it works. I think even if you don't like the film, the twist itself is a very clever twist. It would not be fair to call this film lazy or unoriginal. I honestly had my jaw dropped by the ending of Bodies, 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 and was laughing with the final reveal, but let's hear what Carey has to say about the ending of Bodies, Bodies, Bodies.
So why do I think the ending to Bodies, Bodies, Bodies is getting such mixed responses? Well, I feel like we're not necessarily ready for that kind of cleverness, in my opinion. It comes off to a lot of people as maybe lazy or maybe stupid, or it doesn't really make sense to a lot of people. But I think the whole movie was deliberately thought out, like frame for frame, scene by scene, word for word. Even the character development itself, I feel like everything was mapped out And I feel like they deliberately did everything a certain way because they wanted this to be clever and they wanted this to pretty much be twisted on its own head and have us dumbfounded in why it ended the way that it ended and why the movie was the way that it was. And I feel like comparing it to Scream was not necessarily the right movie to compare it to. I feel like it's much more like the movie Clue. I feel like it is a satire, dark horror comedy. I do not feel like this is a slasher. But that does not mean that this is any less fun. It is definitely a good time. There are some cringe moments, yes, but that ending, I'm not gonna lie to you. When I was watching this movie, I don't want to say the word bored, but I was getting to the point where I was like, okay, where is this going? The dialogue is a little drawn out here. When is it gonna, pick up some pace? But then, when it was approaching to the end, somehow, some way, that ending it saved it for me. It blew me away, and I was literally leaving the movie theater in laughter, but not in a bad way. It was out of amazement. I didn't know what to do with myself, and I thought that it was very clever. And literally, and I know a lot of people are thinking, well, the mystery is now gone. Is this movie going to be rewatchable? And for some reason, I feel like I would love to watch this movie again because I know how it ends, and I feel like I will enjoy it a lot more now.
I definitely have to agree with Carey and think that this film will be even more enjoyable on a second or even a third or fourth watch. I also think this film might be one of those great examples of a film to dip your toes in with if you're not specifically a horror fan, because it's really not a horror film. It is a satire, comedy, thriller at the end of the day. It does have some horror elements, but really it's not a horror film. And I would definitely recommend this film if you like dark humor. But if you're watching this, I'm assuming you have already seen it, so let me know your thoughts about the ending of Bodies, Bodies, Bodies down below. Do you agree with Carey and I? Do you think that the ending was clever? Do you think that it helped what they were trying to say about Generation Z? Or do you think it just made the film completely pointless? Let me know down in the comments below. But thanks again, Carey, for joining me and talking about Bodies, Bodies, Bodies and that wild ending. I'm Carter Scotland Allen, and this has been a discussion of A24's Bodies, Bodies, Bodies.